Welcome to Designing Healthcare That Cares, the show where we explore how to build healthcare systems where people and performance thrive. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Suttin, a physician, coach, and healthcare leader who believes that human flourishing and organizational excellence go hand in hand. Each week, I talk with leaders, change makers, and innovators about how to shift culture, lead with purpose, and tackle the root causes of burnout. Because when healthcare works for the people in it, everyone wins. Welcome to the Designing Healthcare That Cares podcast. I'm Laura Suttin, and as I'm recording this, it's near the end of 2025. We're in the holiday season. That also means germ season, so you might be able to hear a little bit of raspiness in my voice. I'm slightly under the weather, but that's okay because I'm here and I'm healthy and really excited to share this solo cast with you. I wanted to spend a few minutes, like a lot of you are probably doing, is really reflecting on what 2025 meant for you and also what to look ahead to in 2026. So I'll share a little bit about some different aspects of my life and my business and what 2025 meant for me. In a mastermind that I am in, we were sharing what is our word for 2025. And I really had a hard time with that one. I really struggled with that one. I feel like 2025 was a very strange year. And a lot of you that I've talked to, a lot of people in my world will agree with it was just a strange year for lots of different reasons. And I'll share a little bit in this solo cast about what that means for me. But the word I did come up with was alignment. I felt like I moved more towards what aligns with me and away from what doesn't. And that takes a while to really figure out. So I am almost entering my third year as a full-time entrepreneur, and there is so much to figure out. I left my full-time role in May of 2024. So December of 2025, I'm coming up on my third year. I definitely felt like I grew in a lot of different ways in this year. One thing I noticed as I was preparing for this solo cast is that I feel like there is this duality, at least for me in 2025. And there's this element of both grief for some things, so loss, change, and we'll talk about that, and also very strong gratitude. And it's okay to have both, right? Because life isn't always beautiful and sad in one context or another. And so, certain aspects of my life, I'll talk about where the gratitude comes in and where the grief comes in. And I'm breaking this out in the events that impacted me both personally and professionally. Probably the biggest event that impacted me this past year was my daughter leaving for college. So, she is my only biological daughter. I have three bonus kids, and they are past college age. So, this was really my first foray into kids leaving the house and graduating high school and all of the events that come along with that. There's definite gratitude and grief in there as well. I was grieving that she left for sure. She went to a school that is not close. She is a several hour plane ride away, and it's her first choice. Incredibly proud of her for getting into her dream school. So that's part of the gratitude, right? But the grief is that she left, and that means that some things changed, that there was a loss of structure, of identity, of routines. My identity as a full-time parent had to shift with her being out of the house. And yeah, there's some loss in that. What I'm really grateful for is that she is doing so well. She's thriving. She has found a fantastic community at her new school. Her roommate and she are fast friends. And so, really, really grateful that she is settling in very well there. I'm also really grateful for the support that I've had this past year through all that transition. My husband was incredible, supported me in every step of the way, and held space for all the feelings that came up for me. I got to know over the past few years a group of friends, a group of moms that my daughter and their kids were all very close friends. And so, this tight knit group of moms, we were all going through the same thing together. We were launching our birds. And I had several very good friends that were all in the same boat too. And so, really just grateful for this community of parents that supported me and we could all go through this together. Another part of the year that really impacted me was how this year fared out in terms of our scientific community. So, lots of changes within our scientific community. We now have some officials that are leading the charge within the scientific community that are recommending a lot of things that are not based in evidence. And we've seen some harm that has come of that, unfortunately. What grieves me is harm to patients, right? Possible loss of life, but also a loss of trust in our institutions. There's a lot of frustration with that loss. At the same time, I'm really grateful for the advocacy that I've seen come out of the physician community and the healthcare professional community, and that we are starting to speak out and raise our voices and say what we will put up with and what we won't. I've seen a lot of healthcare organizations that are really unifying and coming together to advocate and speak out and advocate on the behalf of not only our patients, but on evidence based medicine and on really what's truth and science. So that makes me very grateful. So, shifting gears back to the personal realm is one of my favorite hobbies, which if you've listened to the podcast, you probably know that I love running. And so, part of the grief is that I have had a recent injury and I'm not able to run right now, which is a huge loss for me because running is great for me physically, but also mentally. I like to call it the Roomba for my brain. When I go out on a run, I feel like things just come together in my brain and I start to figure out solutions to problems I didn't even know I had. I have really great ideas and really great insights, and it's such a grounding and regulating practice for me. So I'm grieving the fact that I can't run right now. I'll talk a little bit more about this when I talk about 2026, but I won't be able to run for quite a while either. So there is some grief, loss of identity, loss of the community, loss of this activity that I love so much. A lot of gratitude there, though, because I started to train for a half marathon and I actually made it almost all the way through my training cycle. It was just within the past few weeks before the race that I wasn't able to run. But I'm grateful for everything I was able to do. I'm really grateful for my running coach, my physical therapist who helped me out so much. I felt so supported from these individuals, not just to help me really crush goals that I had, but they met me where I was. And I'm not as fast as I was 5, 10 years ago, and that's okay. I didn't feel any pressure to try to do something that I'm not or become somebody that I'm not. And so, really grateful for their support and their encouragement. And also that I learned to listen to my body because when this injury happened, it's something that I could have pushed through. And maybe 5 or 10 years ago, I would have. But at this point in my life, I've learned that, yeah, those aches and pains really mean something and I have to pay attention to them. So I'm very grateful for that lesson and grateful for the opportunities to run the way that I have this year. So shifting back to my business, I don't feel a lot of grief. I will say there were a few things that I spent money on that didn't work. And I do grieve that money just a little bit. But I go back to something that an old med school professor of mine said. So, this medical school professor, every year, he took a group of fourth year medical students to China for a month-long rotation. And I had the opportunity to go and take that opportunity and take that rotation and go overseas for the first time. It was an incredible adventure, and I wouldn't have traded it for anything. When he was prepping us for the trip, and all of us as med students were really on tight budgets, he encouraged us to really explore since we're going to be in this part of the world that we're not in very often. And he had this phrase that I love that sticks with me today. He would say, IOM, it's only money. And money mindset is something that I'm definitely always working on. This is such an important phrase for me that helped me to understand that, yeah, it's only money. We don't have to be tied to money. And so I had to grieve that money that I basically lost on something that it was a decision that I made and it wasn't right for me. It goes back to the alignment piece that I mentioned before, really moving towards what works for me and away from what doesn't. So a little bit of grief there, mostly gratitude for the business. I really honed in on what type of support I needed, and I brought in that level of support, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm also grateful for the insights that I had. I had a ton of insights this year, and this kind of goes into the mindset shift that I'll talk about here shortly. One of the things that I'm really grateful for in the business is my rebranding. So I rebranded this podcast. It was The Purposeful MD. Now it's Designing Healthcare That Cares. I created a new website, again, had an amazing team to help with that, created a new brand for myself. And that was so exciting. Again, felt really aligned with where I am and where I'm going. I worked with some new coaches, did some speaking engagements, had some new clients that I'm really excited about, and just really felt like I was creating the business for myself that I want, which is exciting, right? That's why I went into business for myself in the first place. Also, very grateful that when I look back at the goals that I created a year ago, I met some of these goals. I didn't meet all of them, but I met some of them, and I'm very proud of myself and very grateful for the opportunities that I've had. So the business shifts weave right into the mindset shifts. So again, not much grief, except as anytime that we're doing any sort of growth, we have to let go of this person that we were, this person that I was. I had to let go of that person or who I thought I might be. So anytime we're shifting or growing in a way, then we're giving up a part of ourselves that used to sustain us through that period before. So there is a little bit of grieving, letting go of who we were before. I started taking more responsibility for myself and started really reminding myself that this is my business and I get to design it the way that I want. I get to run it the way that I want. Not that I was blaming or shaming or anything like that, but I took the helm, I took the reins and started thinking like a CEO rather than an operator. I started really thinking like a business owner. And what that led me to do was to trust my instincts more, to take action more quickly. I stopped waiting for things to be perfect and for myself to be ready before taking action. And one of the biggest things that I have let go of, and I'm still working on letting go of, is people pleasing. I've done several episodes on people pleasing, and I talk about it in my book. It's really something that I've struggled with. And I know a lot of my physician clients have struggled with as well. Letting go of people pleasing, I've stopped justifying my decisions, stopped over explaining, stopped feeling like I have to defend myself. And that's really opened up a ton more possibilities for me. So, really grateful for my team, my coaches, my mastermind, all the support that I've gotten that have helped me to let go of that old side of myself and bring in the new. And then that leads me to the last piece of my 2025 reflection is the community. So I joined a mastermind about 6 months ago, and it's been incredible. It's an in group of amazing women entrepreneurs who just support me all the time. That leads me to wanting to create a community for myself. And so stay tuned. You'll be hearing more about this in 2026. But I really want to create the type of community that I have found for myself where you belong no matter what. Working on finding people whose values align with mine, whether that's friends or mastermind or vendors or clients or any sort of support, team members. And one of the things that I'm letting go of is spending time, energy, and money on or with people that don't align with mine because not everybody's going to align. And that's okay. Not everybody needs to. The world would be very boring. So, back to that alignment, gratitude for finding the community that I have, and grief for letting go of people or energy, time, things that don't align with me, but realizing that I have to let those go in order to move forward. So that's my 2025 reflection. Now I want to spend a few minutes talking about what's ahead for me in 2026. So, one of the things that I'm most excited about is I am launching my first course. This will be an online course. It's called the Clinician Leadership Compass, and it's designed for any medical professional. So, physician, nurse, physician, associate nurse practitioner, anybody that's in their first few years of leadership who is struggling with identity, struggling with how to get all these things done, struggling with priorities, struggling with balancing clinical and administrative duties. I made so many mistakes early on in my leadership journey, and I want all clinician leaders to avoid the mistakes that I made. So I'm super excited about this course. It's going to launch in Q1. Stay tuned. You'll be hearing more about it here on my podcast and on my website as well. So, super excited to launch this course, and I'm really excited to bring it to the world. Building a community, as I said, stay tuned about that because there's more to come. I don't quite know what that looks like yet, but I know that a community is so important for myself and my business. And I'm really just excited and can't wait to bring some type of community to the physician world as well. I'm going to continue the podcast. Very excited about that and continuing to have some incredible guests on and some solo casts as well. With the course and with more speaking engagements, I want to expand my impact. I want to visit with other clinicians. I want to continue to spread the message that, healthcare is broken, but it doesn't have to be. And we can create something better together. That's really this designing healthcare that cares. We can create something where physicians, clinicians, patients, everybody thrives and the healthcare system wins. So through speaking engagements, through the coursework, through my clients, just very grateful to be expanding my impact that way. Outside of the business, along the personal front, is I will be in some recovery for this injury that I've had in the first part of 2026. A little bit nervous about what that's going to look like because it's a recovery unlike I've not had before. But I'm also excited about what's on the other side for me and being able to run again, hopefully in the second half of the year. So stay tuned to hear more about my journey as well. As you've listened to this, you've probably done some reflection on 2025, and there's so many different tools out there. I wasn't trying to replace any of the incredible tools that you have at your disposal for year-end reflections. But what's helped me was really focusing in on what are you grateful for? And using that as a guide, right? Using what I'm grateful for as a compass. Let the answers guide you. Move more towards what you're grateful for. Where do you want to spend your time and energy? Again, as I talk about in my book, the definition of time management is being intentional about where you spend your time and energy. So, what lights you up? What are you grateful for? How do you do more of that and move more towards what lights you up and what aligns with you and move away from what doesn't align? So, think about those questions. And as you reflect on gratitude, reflect on what went well for you this year and what you'd like to do more of in 2026. I hope this has been helpful for you. I am so also grateful for you, the listeners, the community, the people that have supported me, the people that are here cheering me on. And I hope this has been helpful for you. Thank you so much for being with me along this journey. And I can't wait to see you in 2026. Thanks for listening to Designing Healthcare That Cares. If today's conversation gave you a new idea or inspired you to see things differently, share this episode with a colleague and keep the conversation going. And if you're ready to take the next step in building a thriving healthcare culture, you can find resources and ways to connect with me at drlaurasutton.com. This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not medical advice, and it should not replace care from a qualified healthcare provider. Always seek the guidance of your physician or other qualified professional for any medical questions or decisions.